Welcome back to another video. In this video, we are going to create an image gallery. And we are going to make it responsive. And then we'll add a logic to open the image when we click on it. We are going to do all this with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So before we get into it, make sure you are subscribed if you want more tutorials in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And leave a like on this video if it helps you out. Now let me know in the comments if you have any problems in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and I'll be willing to help. Now let's get right into it. In the VS Code workspace, all we need is the HTML document, the CSS file, and the JavaScript file. And in the images folder, we have these 8 images that you are going to be using for the gallery. And this is all we need to get started. So in the HTML document, type in the exclamation sign and press tab to generate this boilerplate. And then we change the title of the document to responsive image gallery. Then we add a link to the CSS file. And in the body element, we add a link to the JavaScript file. And now we can start with the markup. So first create a div section with the class name of wrapper. And we give the div an ID of image wrapper. And inside it, we'll have our first image. And the SRC attribute should be the images folder / the name of the first image, image1.jpg. And this is the first image. This is a Ford Raptor. So we don't need the alt text. And we give it an ID of full image. And below the image element, still in the wrapper div, we add a span element with an inner text of X. And this wrapper div will appear when you click on any image in the image gallery. So in the CSS file, let's first style it. So select all elements with the global element selector and remove the default margin, the default padding, and set the box sizing to border box. Next, we start the wrapper. So we target the wrapper class name. Set the background color to a black color. And set the position to fixed. The top positioning should be 0. The left positioning should also be 0. And the width should be 100% of the total width of the viewport. And you set display to flex. Set both the justify content and align items property to center. And we want to stack this image over everything else. So set the Z index to 100. Next, we style the image inside the wrapper div. So with the wrapper div, any image, set the width to 90%. And the maximum width should be 500 pixels. Now the height of the wrapper div, set it to 100 viewport height. So it will be the full height of the viewport here. And the height of the image, set it to 90%. Set the object fit property to cover. So the image can fit in the respective 500 pixels or 90% width and the height of 90%. Next, we style the span element in the wrapper div. So with the wrapper class name, any span elements, set the position to absolute to take it out of the normal flow of the document. And the top positioning should be 5%. The right positioning should also be 5%. So we push it from the top and the right by 5% each. And the text color should be white. And this is the X. We can see it over here. Now we increase the font size. And the font family, we set it to sans serif. And we bold in the text, setting the font width to 600. And we add a text shadow of 10 pixels blur and a black color. And when we hover over it, we need a human hand. So set the cursor to pointer. Now again, when you hover over the span elements, we want to increase the size. So with the hover pseudo class, set a transform property to scale by 1.2. And in the declaration field of the span, we add a transition of 0.3 seconds ease. And this is what we have. So with the final result, when you click on any image in the gallery, this is how the image should appear. Now, initially, we want it to disappear. So we go into the wrapper div declaration block and set a display to none. So the image can disappear. And now we can create the image gallery itself. So back in the HTML document, create a div section with a class name of image gallery. And inside this image gallery div, we'll have all the 8 images. So create an image element, and the SRC attribute should be images folder / the image1.jpg. And we don't need any alt text. So copy and paste this to get 8 images in total. And then we change the image 1 to image 2, image 3, and so on and so forth till we get to the last image. So we'll have 8 images in total, and they appear here as we can see. So this is all for the markup. And now let's start the image gallery. So first we style the body of the web page. So we maintain the white background color. And we set the minimum height of the body to 100 viewport height. We want to centrally place everything. So set the display to flex, justify contents and align items both to center. Then we add a padding of 60 pixels for the vertical padding and 0 for the horizontal padding. So there can be space between this border of the body and this image. Now in the image gallery, we first style the image. So the image gallery class name, any image element, we set both the width and the height to 250 pixels. And we set the object fit to cover. And we add a border radius of 10 pixels and a margin of 20 pixels for the vertical margin and 10 pixels for the horizontal margin around the images. Then when you hover over the image, set the cursor to pointer. Now again, when you hover over the image, so with the hover pseudo class, set a transform property to scale by 1.3. 1.5, so they will increase in size. Then we add a box shadow of 20 pixels blur and a black color. And then we come back to the image declaration block and add a transition for all the properties we set. 0.4 seconds ease. This is what we have. So now let's position the image gallery div itself well. So with the image gallery class name, set the width to 90%. That would be 90% of the total width of the viewport. And we set the display to flex to turn it into a flexbox. Set a flex wrap property to wrap, and this will make it responsive. Now set the justify content to space evenly. And this is what we have. And that is it for the CSS. And in the JavaScript file, we can add some functionality so that when you click on any of these images, you can open the image itself. The first thing we are going to do is to grab some elements in the HTML document and assign them to variables in the JavaScript file. So we'll first grab all images in our HTML document, and then we assign them to the variable images. So we use the query selector all. So we grab all images and we put them in kind of like an array form, where this image is the first member of the array or the first element of the array. This is the second element, third element, and so on and so forth. And the first element will have an index number of 0. The second will have an index number of 1. This will have an index number of 2, and so on and so forth. And we also grab this div element, which has its display element set to none, so that at some particular time, you can set the display to flex to display the image that has been opened. We'll also grab this image that will open by its ID name, and then also grab this span element using the query selector. So let's do that quickly. Next, we create a function that our program will run on, and the name of the function should be image opened. So this function will be executed in order to open the program. And the parameter we put in the function for now is pick. So now inside the function, the first thing we'll do is to change the display of the wrapper div here to flex, because here we set the display to none. So get the image wrapper and you change the style and the display to flex. So after changing the display to flex, the image will show. And we change the SRC attributes of this image inside the wrapper div to the image that we've clicked on. So the full image dot SRC attributes should be the parameter that you put here. So when you call the function somewhere, we'll put in the actual SRC attributes as the argument, so it will replace this pick over here. Now with these images, we grabbed all the images inside the document and we put them in kind of like an array form. So the first image in this document, which is this image here, will have an index number of 0. This will have an index number of 1. This will have an index number of 2. This will have an index number of 3, and so on and so forth. So we use the for each keyword so that we can loop through all the elements inside this images array. And then you give them different variable names as image. So every image here should be assigned to this name image. And it should have an index number of I. So this image here has an index number of 0. This has an index number of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is what we have done. So after assigning them to the name and the index number, we execute some function. Now what do we do? First, we add an event listener to the images here. So image, which is this name standing for the individual images that we've looped through, and we add an event listener. The event listener is click. When you click on the image, we execute some function too. So when you click on the image, then we call this image open function that we've created. So we call the function and we put in an argument to replace this pic over here. And what is the argument? It should be the SRC attributes of the image that we've clicked on. So we'll use a template literal. And the SRC attribute should be the images folder / any image that we've opened. And we can see here that the first image has a file name of image 1, the second has a file name of image 2, third image 3, and so on and so forth. And we use this syntax, the $, and the curly braces to add a number when we type a template literal. So for the first image here, it has an index number of 1, so we use the I here. .jpg. So this will be the file name of the image that we've clicked on. So when you click on the image, you can see that the first image opens. And we use the close button here, which is the span with an inner text of X to close this image that has been opened. So we write a different code for it. So with the span, which is over here, we add an event listener to it. And the event is click. So when you click on the span, we execute some function. And when we click on the span, what do? We change the display of the whole wrapper div here to none, so it can disappear. So with the wrapper div, the style and the display, set it to none, so it can disappear. So let's try again. When you click on this, the image appears, and when you click on the X, it disappears. Now our code works perfectly. So yeah, that's how to create a responsive image gallery with some JavaScript logic using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I hope this video helped you out. And if it did, make sure to subscribe and leave a like on this video. I'll see you in the next tutorial.